Tracey, my head hurts sometimes.
When you see
my
Greg.
eyes, my emotions, my insides. After I see my brother, is that normal?
I don't know. It must be
Contagious?
contagious because I feel the same way.
We feel the same way. Our heads hurt, our eyes hurt, our body hurts. But then as soon as I don't see him anymore, I'm perfectly fine.
We're probably allergic.
We're allergic to Greg. You have that Gregorgy. That's
So
terrible.
dumb.
And it's so
So
dumb.
dumb.
And it's stupid. And we love Greg. We're just kidding. Okay. So this is something I've heard from friends, wives of good friends, or even my female friends. Like, and they've almost accepted it as the norm.
Beauty is pain.
Beauty is pain. Like, I wear heels and they look good, but they hurt. So beauty must equal pain, right? Like, this one example. Like, you know, Habib, after I get my nails done, it's just they just hurt. And my response to them is always, that should never, ever, ever be the case. Yeah, my natural nails, and then like I'll take a break and I have to let them heal for a couple months and until they feel normal again. And then I'm like, you're not doing jujitsu, you know, like you're not gripping it, like your fingers, and they should not hurt. But like, what is going on, Tracey? Like, why? What is happening? Why are people feeling this way? And what is the solution here?
Well, I mean, there are things that can happen in salon that we accidentally have a new file and we got them a little, things happen.
Sure.
However, on a regular basis, nails service should not hurt. And I remember when I started forming, because it always, like I have an extended hyponychium on a couple nails, and I would be like, it hurts, and it hurts. And well, that means it fits. It's like, okay.
What?
Oh, okay. It's torture, but okay. That's not true. It's just applied wrong. And that's a lot of times what's going on if your service hurts. It could be using the electric file or hand file and going through all the layers of your nail, and now your nail is raw. It could be, so many different things that we are doing as the tech that is causing pain to our customer.
Right.
Nails shouldn't hurt. If you're doing everything correctly and your nails are hurting, like you're like, my nail tech isn't aggressive, then it could be an allergic reaction too.
Right.
So you gotta look at it that way.
Right.
Also, pay attention to the pain.
I think that's like number one, you know, pay attention to the pain. I love giving this example because it is relative to so many topics that we discuss here at Young Nails. In so many episodes, it's just so relevant. But there was there's a 2-year period where we were shooting videos and Greg was doing Tracey's nails on these videos and changing her nails out, doing her nails, changing them out, removing them, reapplying, removing 2-3 times a week.
A lot of times it was more.
It was more
like 5-6 times a week.
Yeah, so because we were shooting so many videos, so many instructionals. And did your natural nails, did they ever hurt?
Never.
Not ever once. And if you look at Tracey's nails, her natural nails are in perfect condition. So, okay, what is going on when somebody's been going to, you know, get their nails done and they're just constantly experiencing, like, you know, the soreness and pain? What is happening that is causing that pain, in your opinion?
Most of the time, I would say it's probably in the removal process.
Okay.
Now, we've heard of many instances where people are like, oh, they just take a Metro card and they pry the nail off. Well, you're removing layers of the nail bed. You know, you don't do that. Or they're taking nippers and they're just prying it off, and pulling it off. Improper removal, and as we thin the nail plate down, and now we have to re-prep on top of that thinned down nail plate, it's going to start hurting.
It's going to start hurting.
So, and I'm not saying I use the electric file personally to remove. You can use an electric file and not damage the nail plate. Now, some people prefer acetone. Whatever it is, you have to do it in the proper form.
Yeah. And that's why that example is so good, because I would watch Greg is removing and reapplying over and over and over again, because we need a new set. We need a new design. We're doing another video. And not ever once were you like, oh my God, my nails, I need a break, or ouch.
Yeah.
Because he's never filing into your natural nail, or he's never taking the nippers and like just ripping off a piece. Never, not ever once is he doing that.
No. And then when that's happened, right? Let's say we've had that removal process. Now we've had to re-prep, an aggressive removal process. Now we've re-prepped. Now we're putting acrylic on top of a good amount, or we're applying a good amount of gel on the nail. What am I going to feel?
Right.
I am going to feel pain. I'm going to feel heat
Right.
from it. As the nail plate thins down, we're going to be more and more sensitive to the curing of whatever product, whether it's acrylic or gel.
Right. It starts to turn into this, like, it's going to progressively get worse, because if your method of removing is incorrect, and each time you're taking off layers, like you said, Tracy, it's continuously, progressively getting worse and worse, and like you said, more sensitive.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you this question. Some people might be saying, oh, well, my nails never hurt after a service, but like sometimes when I get gel, they hurt. Is that like, that's horrible, that's bad, oh my God, my nail tech's awful, start freaking out. We're not talking about the same thing here.
No, and if that's happening, you need to let your nail because some of us are more sensitive than others, right?
I am that way.
I am not sensitive to the gel light. You could pretty much dump a ton of gel and I can go in and I might feel some warmth, but I'm just not, my nail plate's not thin. Some people have naturally thin, weak nails. Now, if that's happening, you got to let your nail tech know, and they can do things. They can freeze it in front of the light, slow the process down so you're not feeling the initial warmth, put thinner layers. Those things shouldn't burn either.
Exactly.
So it doesn't necessarily mean that your nail plate is damaged. It's just too much product being applied at once.
And again, like that's a thing. That's a communication thing of like, hey, I'm feeling some heat here, and like you said, easy solution. You can slow cure it, thinner layers. Put it in front of the light, then go in the light. We have tons of instructions on that as well.
Right. What you don't want to hear is your nail tech say, "Oh, I'm searing it to the nail. It's going to last longer." No, they need to fix the problem. Because you don't want the process shouldn't be painful at all.
Exactly. So what if, like, okay, so if you're a nail technician and you're listening to this, and you're like, I know my clients have complained about like their nails being a little sore after the service. Like I've heard it. What can that tech do? What should they do?
We need to look at things. We need to look, am I thinning the nail out too much? How am I removing? I was taught in school to take nippers and start prying, right? And what you do when you're prying, there's the part that's not stuck that you're trying to remove, but as you're doing it, you're ripping at the nail. Usually it could be a little lifting, and by the time I was done, the nail was almost off. And most of that was being pried off the nail. So am I doing that? Another situation where people can feel discomfort, I don't know if I would call it pain, is sizing tips too small. Because the tip draws, right? Like you spread it out as far as you can to make it fit the nail plate.
There's that tension.
And I call it a suffocating feeling. And but you can feel it like drawing up. That's not comfortable. Am I sizing my tips correctly? Am I putting them on too small? Well, is there something that I'm doing in my service that can cause damage?
It's kind of like a coiled spring, right? You're putting all that tension in there that I think it's potential energy, technically. Look at me, my physics, Trace. But like with that pressure, and it's like it just wants to give.
Yeah.
And
so you're feeling that pull, though, and that's not comfortable.
Right. Exactly. Is this something that just requires just some clear education? You know what I mean? Like I'm talking about the industry on the whole. Putting out content where like this video, for example, I think is really good because people do complain about it. I've heard it. It's like, dude, your nails should, they accept it as it's normal. Like, oh, I just thought that that's how my nails should
No,
feel.
I've heard it multiple times.
Right.
It shouldn't hurt.
It should not hurt. And we know that we're putting out content, but like, is this just something that just requires like just over and over? We have to keep talking about it, keep educating about it, keep educating the proper ways to remove, because the old stick my fingers in acetone and scrape, acetone, scrape, and then you go too far doesn't seem like it's the best method. And
Right.
I think it's given a bad name to the e-file, because then when you have, let's say somebody is removing with an e-file and they're not properly educated and they're removing that way and they're just going too far, too fast, not being aware or cautious, with what they're doing, and they're just removing too much nail plate. It freaks people out of like, don't turn that thing on in front of me. Like you hear it all the time.
Yeah. Fortunately, it's become more of a norm. When I started using the electric file, first of all, I taught my clients not to do it for 6 years.
Really?
Oh yeah, because I was taught it was bad. I used a Dremel.
Use the Dremel
to cut in smile lines. That's it. Never let someone come at you with an electric file. That's what I was taught. And I also saw people come in with so much damage from it because it's improper. And what you said is key: education on both sides. To the customer, that's what we're doing. We're educating the customer. It's not supposed to hurt. That's a red flag. And the nail tech on this is how you properly do it. Because sometimes we're not properly taught. So we have to learn the proper ways of, I thought I had to take an 80 grit file to the natural nail to prep it.
Right.
And my teacher would go, prep it some more. Okay. I had no idea. I just needed to remove the shine, Right. So, I was educated that way. So now we have to uneducate and re-educate.
Yeah.
So it's education on both sides.
I think people also have the idea that if I don't use an e-file and I use a regular file, I'm scot-free. I'm not going to hurt the natural nail.
I have done way more damage with a hand file than I have with an electric file.
Yeah.
I am more scared of a hand file. I have been cut many times with a hand file by just people letting them do my nails. I have been hurt more times with a hand file than I have the electric file.
It's, again, this is an example we bring up all the time, but it's like I have the old hammer and nail, and then I have an automatic, air-powered nail. What do you call them? Nail gun.
Nail gun.
Jesus.
It's a nail gun.
I can't do damage with a hammer and nail. Of course you can.
Yeah.
Even doing one at a time. If I use the nail gun, it's going to be faster, more efficient. Obviously, of course, you could still hurt somebody, but it's about being educated and understanding, how to use it. But you're right. It's like if I take a hand file and if it's 80 grit, and I just go on my natural nail right now, I'm going to put a big gash in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's going to hurt.
And we have people that comment, on my videos that are like, I would never, that's damaging. I am doing it to myself. I am never going to do something to myself that damages my nail plate,
of course,
or hurts me. So that's always kind of my response when people say that to me. I was like, but I do it to myself, and why would I do something that hurts? So again, education.
I think I always say this to Karen too. Like we were talking about it on Friday. We had a Discord live session, and people were talking about electric file. And I think the big aha moment I had was when you and I were shooting our acrylic series, the OWC acrylic series, and we got into file finishing and with the e-file, and the aha moment was just make contact and then start to move it. Not, know what I mean? You don't have to. You just make contact and then start moving it, and then it starts gliding, and you're like, oh, it's doing all the work. That to me was the big light bulb moment of this thing is actually just helping me. And when you start to get close, it's like you can see, like I don't have to go all the way down to the natural nail. I can get close. There's a little layer there over the natural nail. It's like a protective layer, and then I'm going to reapply over it.
But yeah, exactly. It's you just have to learn how to do it. And what you said is it's just making contact. If you have a good bit, that's all you need to do. The minute you have to put pressure, something's wrong. Something either you don't have the speed right, or you have a dull bit.
You have a dull bit.
So you got to learn. I think the most important for if we're talking to a customers, the people that are going to get their nails done, do not continue to go back to someone that keeps hurting you. Don't do it. There's no need for it.
Yes.
Don't do that. Say something, because sometimes we don't know.
Correct.
If you're sensitive to something like, I had no idea you were sensitive to this. Okay, well, let's make, tweak that a little bit. But if you've expressed your concerns and they continue to do it, go to someone else.
Yeah, I think that's huge. It's like, hey, this is it's kind of hurting me. Well, you just got to deal with it. Yeah. That's not really the answer you want to hear.
I've heard people say beauty is pain.
Yeah, no. It shouldn't be that way.
This is not waxing. We're not getting waxed.
You're not getting waxed. You're not getting waxed. And I will never get waxed. I'm just saying, because Tracey wants me to get like my chest. This is weird. But
that's so weird. But
not going to do it.
Next vlog.
Habib gets waxed. Let us know in the comments below your thoughts on this topic. I think it's important. We'd love to hear what you have to say. Tracey, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for joining us. We will see you next time on the Biz Talk.
Subscribe to the channel now.